We got a lot to talk about as we charge into week 11 of the NFL regular season, so let's just get right to it. Hit the intro.
Perfect.
Before we get too far into things, subscribe to support the channel, and of course, get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. And with that out of the way, it's on to the content. First things first, starting off with our games of the week, want to highlight the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. For the Cincinnati Bengals walking into this matchup, they are coming off the heels of two tough losses to the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns. And both of those games, they really just never had a chance to play their brand of football, really sound and efficient football with a heavy passing attack. So it looks like defenses have begun to adjust throughout this season. And coming off of a bye week, we have to see if the Cincinnati Bengals are doing anything differently. They really need to pick up a few wins as the AFC North as a whole is getting tighter and tighter, and eventually one of these teams is going to pull away. Luckily for the Cincinnati Bengals, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, and even the Pittsburgh Steelers were unable to get wins in week 10, so they are in still prime position to take a lead in the AFC North as a whole. This offense is built upon a high-level passing attack. The defense throughout this season has played pretty sound football, but those last couple of losses have lingered, and they should be walking into this matchup with a huge chip on their shoulder. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do as they try to rebound and continue their playoff push inside of a very wide-open AFC as a whole. And much like the Bengals in the AFC North, the Raiders in the AFC West have an opportunity still to take over their respective division. Even after a pretty rough loss to the Kansas City Chiefs last week that put the Chiefs right back into first place in the division, the Raiders are still only a game behind, and they are still in prime position to be a playoff level team in the AFC. So for the Raiders, after an incredibly tumultuous season where there have been a ton of off-the-field issues, controlling what they can control on the field and still playing pretty good football, all things considered. The offense is still putting up points. The defense has played all right. The Raiders are still in a good position, and both of these teams in this matchup are in desperate need for wins as this final stretch towards the playoffs, these final 7 or 8 weeks are going to be incredibly contentious within the AFC as a whole. The playoff picture throughout the entire NFL right now is absolutely wild and crazy, but the Bengals and the Raiders just trying to cement their spots, and the only thing that you can do to make that happen is to keep winning football games. Next matchup I want to spotlight, the Dallas Cowboys heading into Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cowboys last week seemed to figure things out after they lost their trap game against the Denver Broncos, absolutely shellacking the Atlanta Falcons at home, only allowing, 3 points to this Atlanta Falcons offense that lost Cordarrelle Patterson midway through the game with an ankle injury. Without their star playmaker, the Dallas Cowboys were able to take advantage of every single thing the Atlanta Falcons tried to throw at them. Multiple interceptions, the cherry on top of what has been an amazing season for Dan Quinn and this defense. Look, this Dallas Cowboys team overall is playing really good football right now, but walking into Arrowhead, walking in against a Kansas City Chiefs team that seems to be figuring things out after a strong win last week against the Raiders, the Dallas Cowboys have their work cut out for them in this one. In fact, this might be their toughest test yet on the season, and if the Dallas Cowboys are able to get a win against what is looking like a Kansas City Chiefs team that is coming into their own and making those strong pushes going into the playoffs, the Dallas Cowboys could absolutely hang their hats on this win, right? If they can get a win against this Kansas City Chiefs team, I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be setting themselves up with a lot of momentum throughout the rest of the season. Look, the offense is playing really, really well. The defense playing way beyond expectations walking into this season. Again, a huge tip of the cap to Dan Quinn, but the Dallas Cowboys have a lot riding in this one as far as just playoff positioning, as they have a stronghold over the NFC East. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's remaining the number 1 seed in the AFC West, reclaiming that spot after that big win over the Raiders on Sunday Night Football this past Sunday. The Kansas City Chiefs just trying to keep their position. The AFC has been incredibly crazy throughout this entire season, but the only thing you can do is continue to win football games. The Kansas City Chiefs offense looks like they've kind of found themselves, right? A 40-plus point performance. Patrick Mahomes throwing 5 touchdowns to no interceptions against the in-division Raiders. It's just pointing towards good things. I'm expecting in this matchup there to be a lot of offensive firepower. The Chiefs need their defense to step up against this very strong Cowboys offense if they hope to win this game. Overall, there's going to be a lot of interesting storylines walking into this one. Next one up, the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. A lot going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're likely to have Ben Roethlisberger back for this matchup after he missed last week's performance against the Detroit Lions on the COVID list. Mason Rudolph is not the answer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's kind of crazy because we were talking about how Big Ben, this could very well be his final season as he is in the twilight year of his career. But this team still runs through Ben Roethlisberger. The offense hasn't necessarily been stellar this season, but Big Ben is still the better offensive choice at quarterback. I'm sure Mike Tomlin understands that as well. Dwayne Haskins nowhere near ready to take over this squad, and I'm not even sure Pittsburgh thinks that he could be their answer down the road. But the Pittsburgh Steelers absolutely need Ben Roethlisberger right now. His leadership and his offensive prowess is still just that much better than what they have. I mean, heck, Mason Rudolph struggled against the worst team in the NFL last week, tying against the Detroit Lions. So Ben Roethlisberger is going to make that difference for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in this matchup, they're playing against a very talented Los Angeles Chargers squad. The Pittsburgh Steelers still trying to cement themselves into the AFC playoff picture, so they have a lot on the line in this one. And for LA going into this matchup, the Chargers are still in the hunt for the AFC West. They're only a game behind the now number 1 seeded Kansas City Chiefs within that division. The Tennessee Titans seem to have a stranglehold so far over the entire AFC, but the Chargers are trying to remain inside this playoff picture. With a tough loss against the Minnesota Vikings last week, what they need to do in this one is just find their footing, regain, and re-center themselves going forward, because Brandon Staley's doing a very good job as a first-year head coach, and this offense has a load of talent. Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, your big 1 and 2. Defensively, you've still got Bosa, you've still got Derwin James, so you have talent, you have leadership on both sides of the football. The Chargers into this one are just trying to recenter themselves again, trying to cement their spot as a contender within the AFC. This one's going to be a lot of fun as we have a strong offense taking on a very tough defense. With our games of the week out of the way, I think it's time that we move on to our fantasy picks of the week. Some waiver guys to be keeping your eyes on, maybe potentially throwing into your starting lineups, maybe stashing away on the bench as we near fantasy football playoff season. Typically around that week 12, 13, 14 is when those playoffs begin. If you're in the middle of your playoff push, these are some guys that you might want to look into to add to the roster heading into Sunday. First person up on the list is going to be quarterback Cam Newton, now with the Carolina Panthers. Cam looked electric in his opportunities with the Panthers last week in their huge win over the Arizona Cardinals, and I think they're going to get him more involved. Matt Rule even saying they're going to be giving Cam Newton starting quarterback reps this week, and it would be incredibly possible that he is the starter against the Washington football team. Without Chase Young, I think their opportunities are going to open up more in Carolina. They're going to be able to do a lot more in the running game, the passing game, as you don't have this monster coming off the edge hunting you down. I think Cam Newton's a guy that you could consider, maybe not the starter quite yet, but if you're in a little bit of a pinch, I don't think he's the worst risk you could be taking at quarterback this Sunday. Number 2 on the list is A.J. Dillon, the running back for the Green Bay Packers. With Aaron Jones suffering an ankle injury and going to be out for a couple of weeks, Dillon is going to see an uptick and a rise in opportunities. He can catch the ball out of the backfield very much so in Aaron Jones' role in that offense, and A.J. Dillon's going to be thrust into that position out of pure necessity, but he's going to see a lot of opportunities on those short yardage first down pickup opportunities, right? Those chances that the Green Bay Packers just need to pick up a quick third down, 32, 33, third and inches, whatever. And on the red zone, those goal line opportunities are going to be there for Dillon, who is a bruising running back out of pure volume, I think A.J. Dillon's a guy you should consider starting this week. And then finally, Dan Arnold, the tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, taking on the San Francisco 49ers, who have been pretty tough against tight ends throughout this entire season. I think Arnold's a guy to consider starting just because of pure volume. He seems to be the #1 pass catching option for Jacksonville this season, and although Jacksonville hasn't necessarily been a good team, by pure volume alone, I think Arnold's going to be one of those guys you should consider starting this week, even in a tough matchup. Our quick 1, 2, 3 with fantasy out of the way, it's time to move on to our game picks. First up, you got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Chicago Bears. I think Baltimore has a pretty easy path to victory in this one. Chicago's offense has been abysmal. The tune-up game the Ravens need. Green Bay taking on the Minnesota Vikings, the NFC North on the line here. Green Bay, I think, knocked the rust off against Seattle last week. I think they're going to walk into this one with a lot more efficiency. Give me the Green Bay Packers. The Indianapolis Colts taking on the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo is just a much better squad all the way around. Pretty simple pick. Give me the Bills. Detroit taking on the Cleveland Browns. This is exactly the tune-up game the Browns need after a tough loss against the Patriots. Give me the Browns. Washington taking on the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's a bit of a mystery on offense, but without their best player in Washington with the loss of Chase Young, I'm going to lean towards Carolina in this one. They just had a strong win against the Cardinals last week. Houston taking on the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee's the best team in the AFC right now based on record. Houston, arguably the worst team in the AFC. Give me the Titans. San Francisco taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. San Fran needs the wins. They're probably going to get one here. Give me the 49ers. Miami taking on the New York Jets. Both these teams are pretty bad, but I think Miami's just going to be more well coached. Give me the Dolphins. New Orleans taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Surprisingly, I'm going to take the Eagles here. Their offense has been playing pretty well as of late. I think Jalen Hurts has an opportunity to pop this week against the Saints. Cincinnati taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals coming off of that bye week. They absolutely need this win, and I think they're going to get it. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City looks like they might have found their footing, so I'm inspired to take the Kansas City Chiefs in this one, but it's going to be uber close, and it might come down to a Harrison Butker field goal. The Arizona Cardinals taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle couldn't put up a single point last week against the Green Bay Packers, even with some opportunities. Seattle has just been very uninspiring this season. Give me the Arizona Cardinals to have a big day against this porous Seattle defense. Sunday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. I got a feeling that offense is going to rule the day here. Give me the Los Angeles Chargers, but it's probably going to be close. And finally, the New York Giants taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Give me Tom Brady in the squad to figure things out. Games of the week, we got our fantasy and our picks out of the way. It's time to move on to our final segment of the video. Let's hit those storylines. Two big things I want to talk about this week, starting off with the Kansas City Chiefs. And the real question, the real storyline here is, are the Kansas City Chiefs back? Are they in the driver's seat in the AFC once again? And I know it's a little bit presumptuous after a pretty big win on Sunday Night Football against the Las Vegas Raiders, who have dealt with their own issues off the field, but Kansas City just looked a lot more sound. They looked like they were playing their style of football, their brand of football, if you will. And if they can keep this up, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are back to being that threat in the AFC that we've seen them be for the last 2-3 years. So Patrick Mahomes playing more sound football, not throwing interceptions. Andy Reid and the play calling by Eric Bieniemy getting better and better. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill filling in their roles, and the defense playing some opportunistic football. It's a recipe for the rest of the AFC to be a little bit nervous of. And the final storyline, the final segment, what is going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Two tough losses back-to-back to the New Orleans Saints and the Washington football team. Two losses to quarterbacks Trevor Siemian and Taylor Heineke. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing pretty unsound as of the moment. The offense, even without Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski, you still got a ton of toys to play with if you're Tom Brady. You still got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, and Cameron Brate, and O.J. Howard at tight end. None too shabby with a good offensive line. I understand the defense. It predicates entirely on the pass rush, right? The secondary is not that good, but the pass rush has to be there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Two tough losses in a row puts their playoff positioning in a little bit of jeopardy. I think even with Tom Brady, you're still going to be able to figure things out if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bruce Arians is a good coach, but these two tough losses are showing that the Buccaneers are able to be exposed. If you're able to take away those pass rushers, then you have a great opportunity to beat this team, especially with Tom Brady giving opportunities away like it's candy these last couple of weeks. For a guy that has great decision-making being his name of the game, he's given the ball away quite a few times this season, and in those last couple of losses, just not at the best time. So for Tampa Bay, it's not necessarily panic mode just yet, but if they aren't able to string together a couple of wins here, I'd be a little surprised and a little bit interested to see what they do come those final few weeks going into a playoff push. I mean, at the end of the day, you still got Tom Brady on the squad. I still think the Buccaneers are a team to beat in the NFC. I still think they're a Super Bowl contender. However, they're showing some vulnerabilities as of late, and it's something that we need to be keeping our eyes on. And with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching the video. Check me out on my social medias. They're all down in the description below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, get the bell on to know every single time that I'm dropping a video. My name is Tristan Blake Rines, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Adios.